Good evening, friends. The title, as it says, a question: is Kaaba the false Qibla? Excuse me. After researching into the matter and after following the Kaaba as the Qibla all my life, and after researching into the matter for over 36, 37 years, I have no doubt in my mind in making this claim that Kaaba is not the Qibla for Muslims for various reasons, as many of you have already heard from Dan Gibson and others, that Kaaba probably did not even exist in its place that we see today before the 9th century. But I'll try to address the issue from theological perspectives. First of all, does the Quran mention anywhere Kaaba to be the Qibla for Muslims? The answer is no. There's not a single verse in the entire Quran where it says that Kaaba is the Qibla or the direction for prayer for Muslims, or it doesn't even mention anywhere in the Quran that Kaaba is the place to which you should bow at least 5 times a day, as it is the center point for all Muslims to concentrate during the prayer times. Quran is the only divine revelations for Muslims to follow, because the previous scriptures, as the Quran itself claims, were corrupted by the clergy. So the only uncorrupted divine scripture about which Allah has promised preservation is the Quran. So Quran is the basis. And if you believe in hadiths, which I don't, you will have to still say that Quran is the testing criteria, whether that hadith should be accepted or not. Because if there is a clash between Quran and hadith, the Quran should prevail. Although there are some scholars who would claim that hadith should prevail. But as a Muslim, you should believe in the Quran to be the only divinely revealed scripture. And if there is something in the Quran, the hadiths might go ahead and explain that verse. And later on, the writers of the tafsirs will go ahead and interpret those verses based on several hadiths and other scholarly opinions. So if there is nothing in the Quran, you can't say that it is mandatory for a Muslim to follow. Coming back to the question, is the Kaaba mentioned as a Qibla for Muslims in the Quran? The plain and simple, straightforward, unequivocal answer is no. Now, what about Mecca? Mecca, the word Mecca is mentioned only once in the entire Quran. And it is mentioned as a valley in Surah 48, verse 24. Muslim scholars throughout the centuries engaged in hypocrisy, self-contradictions, in their efforts to claim that Bakka and Makkah were the same. I dug deeper and I found no evidence to support this claim. I'm trying to make this video very simple. Instead of going into details of academic references, I will just try to instigate your own research so that you can find out for yourself whether my claims are true or false. So I will just try to instigate research on your part. You will not be able to find conclusively that Quran uses Bakka and Makkah interchangeably. There's nothing to prove in the Quran that when Allah mentions Makkah in 48:24, he in fact was referring to Bakka, as was mentioned in Surah 6, verse 92, for example. And also, it is impossible to even establish that when Quran mentions the mother of city, it also refers to Makkah. Unless you are relying yourselves and on issues like on sources like the biographies of Muhammad or Sirah, as they're known by. So it is impossible for any Muslim scholar to establish that Bakka and Makkah are the same, and Kaaba, and also other words like, for example, the ancient house, Baitul Atiq, and all are the same. So it is, from my understanding, that Bakka and Makkah are not the same, and Baitul Atiq and other references are not the same either. Now, what is the basis of Muslim scholars when they claim that Bakka and Makkah are the same? They go head over heels to claim that the name Bakka was later on changed. But if you research into the word Bakka as a marketplace or other references of it in the Bible, you'll find it to be a thriving place and with geographical descriptions, which also resound in certain explanations of Quran when in fact it is referring to Bakka, for example, such as when it refers in Surah 14, verse 37. In Surah 14, verse 37, you will see that Allah is talking about a place where land is not cultivated or without cultivation. It is not referring to a place which is uncultivable, or it is not cultivable, or it's a desert. It doesn't say that. It's a desert, it's sandy. It doesn't mention that. It rather mentions a place which doesn't have cultivation, or it needs, or you can cultivate there, because it refers to fruits, possibility of growing fruits and all that, vegetables. You can find the same description of Bakka in the Bible. Bakka in the Bible is also not a place which is desert or sandy, or which can't be cultivated, etc. So I don't find any reasoning behind concluding that Bakka and Makkah, in fact, are the same place. If you also be honest and search into Ptolemy's description and other geographers' descriptions and old maps, and be honest in your research instead of being religiously motivated, you won't find any reason to believe that Bakka later on took up the name Makkah. And it is also not possible for you to conclude that Masjid al-Haram and Kaaba are placed in the same area, or Kaaba is in the vicinity of Masjid al-Haram, or you will not find any evidence from the Quran that Masjid al-Haram and Kaaba are situated in Makkah. You need to read very carefully some verses. If you read verse 48, 24, and onwards, for example, 48:26, 48:27, you will see that the place of sacrifice is Masjid al-Haram. You will also read that Muslims were prevented from Masjid al-Haram. But that doesn't mean automatically that Kaaba is in Masjid al-Haram unless you try to rely on the history. Even the sources of history have no basis. There's no basis whatsoever. You will not find any basis for that either. Seerahs are not reliable at all, because Ibn Ishaq was filtered by Ibn Hisham, and how Ibn Hisham got his hands on Ibn Ishaq from various sources which contradict one another is another puzzle. So to say that Masjid al-Haram and Kaaba both are situated in the same vicinity and both are situated in Makkah has no basis, no rationale. Masjid al-Haram and Makkah and Bakka all are in the same place. It's a far-fetched claim. Surah 2, that means Surah Baqarah, verse 144 onwards, 144, 145, 146, 147. If you read all those verses, you will see that Allah is talking about a Qibla, and Masjid al-Haram is a Qibla. But Masjid al-Haram, a praying area, where is it? We don't know. Because Masjid al-Haram is not a certain temple or a building or a construction. Because Masjid, even if you go to Nabatir and all sources, you will see that Masjidah or Masjid is a praying area. And an area, even for example, Surah 48, verse 24, 25, 26, and all onwards, as I said, if you read that, the area of sacrifice. Masjid al-Aqsa is the same way, faraway place of praying. It's not a constructed building as we see today, because Masjid al-Aqsa did not even exist during the alleged lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. So to say that Masjid al-Haram is a constructed structure is baseless. And also, Masjid al-Haram allegedly was built during the lifetime of Caliph Omar, which is still can't be corroborated with evidence either. Even Surah 44, verse 144 to 147, 48, if you read, you will see that that was a temporary measure to make even Masjid al-Haram a Qibla. That was to test who were with Muhammad and who were not under certain circumstances. Instead of going into details into that, but you will see that even that was a temporary measure. Because the verse before that, if you go to the same surah, that means Surah Baqarah, Surah 2, verse 115, you will see that Allah's face is everywhere. East or west, doesn't matter, his face is everywhere. So if his face is everywhere, then the issue of Qibla being a certain direction can't have a permanent thing behind it to be justified. And again, if you read same surah, verse 177, again it clarifies. After these surahs containing Masjid al-Haram to be the Qibla, Surah 2, verse 144, 45, 46, 47, as we know, the common rule of naskh or abrogation is the latter one will obviously substitute the previous one, because Allah says, he replaces better verse by the latter. He replaces verses with more clarity later on. That's the rule of naskh or mansukh or abrogation. So Surah 2, verse 177 again clarifies that it doesn't matter your taqwa, your prayer. It's not, your taqwa is not reliant on which way you turn your face, east or west. You have to obviously rely on your intention. So Surah 2, verse 177 clarifies again that Qibla, a certain direction, is rather irrelevant. So Quran doesn't contradict itself. Rather, the orthodox, the dogmatic view of it makes it contradictory. So again, that is gone through the window. You can't establish Kaaba to be in the same place as Masjid al-Haram. There's not a single verse in the entire Quran to say that Kaaba is the Qibla for Muslims, or Masjid al-Haram, where is it? You can't even establish that. Makkah, Masjid al-Haram, and Kaaba are in the same place? No. So when Muslims go to pilgrimage, and even if you take Baitul Atiq, the Prophet Ibrahim, we don't know. Can you say Baitul Atiq and Kaaba are the same? And Quran uses them interchangeably. What is the basis of the claim? You can't even prove that. You have to go head over heels to claim that Baitul Atiq is, or the ancient house is, the Kaaba. We know from Islamic history, even if you dig, into Islamic history, we'll see that Allah is from various Islamic sources that Kaaba was full of 360 plus idols, which are being worshipped. So if Kaaba and Masjid al-Haram were in the same vicinity or same area or same place, close to one another, and a Kaaba was full of idols, can you imagine Muslims trying to pay a pilgrimage to a house which is full of idols? Does it make sense? When today Muslims can't even think of having an idol, a single idol inside a mosque. So can you imagine the Prophet himself, along with his followers, would try during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, would try to go to Mecca, circumvallate the Kaaba, do a pilgrimage, whilst there were still idols inside it? No, doesn't make sense. And Muslims will be instructed to bow towards it? No, it still doesn't make sense. Even if you go into details of the hadiths, you will see, if you rely on the most reliable hadiths collections, for example, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmizi, Nasai, Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, you can't find a single hadith where it's claimed that Prophet Muhammad prayed inside the Kaaba. Not a single hadith. Now today, when Muslims claim that if you are really blessed if you pray inside the Kaaba, I don't find any basis for that claim. There's not a single verse in the entire Quran that Muhammad even prayed inside it, prayed towards it, or even the Muslims are instructed to pray towards it, or even there's not a single hadith in the whole 6 hadith collections where it is said that Muhammad himself prayed inside the Kaaba, or even he destroyed the idols inside the Kaaba. No, doesn't make sense. Now, what do we see surrounding the issue of Hajj? There's not a single verse in the entire Quran to say that you, forget Baitul Atiq as we have already dealt with it, that you should go to Kaaba and circumambulate it 7 times. There's not a single verse in the entire Quran. Do not mix up Baitul Atiq with Kaaba, because you can't do that. There's no basis for you to do that. And 7 times, where did you get this 7 from? It's not even in Quran. If you go around it, Baitul, that's another something I'm going to discuss shortly. So to go around the Kaaba in Mecca 7 times, it's not in there. So what do you do when you go to the Hajj? You say, Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, I'm here. Hey God, I'm here at your doors. So does Allah live inside the Kaaba? It's an insult. And Quran says Allah is closer to you than your own jugular vein. Is closer to you than your jugular vein. But you are taking the effort to go to Makkah, stand outside the Kaaba, and you're saying, God, I'm here, knocking on your doors. I'm here. Unless you have some paganistic view that somehow God lives there. It's a symbolism, is it? Still doesn't make sense. Then you should go to every mosque and say the same thing. Why don't you do that? Doesn't make sense either. And other things surrounding the so-called Hajj during the pilgrimage. What do? You kiss the stone, like a stone. When Quran forbids you to do such things, because it's nothing but reminiscence of stone worship. Surah 2, verse 24. If you read it, you will see that stones and humans will be fuel in hellfire. The Quran is very clear about it. Surah 2, verse 24. And if that's the case, then my question to you is, why do you go and kiss the black stone? Why? This is nothing but shirk, or give an emphasis to the black stone. The people of the Arabian Peninsula used to worship the stone, in various forms. For example, white stones, black stones, because they were, if you read the history, if you just Google it, the history of meteorite shower, you will see during the 6th century, there were meteorite showers in Arabian Peninsula, and people started collecting those stones and started worshiping them in various cube-shaped temples. Some cube-shaped temples are still there, which in fact predates the Kaaba, because there's not a single archaeological evidence, as Dal Gibson correctly said, before the 9th century of this Kaaba even existing there. Doesn't make sense. You will find cube-shaped temples older, much older, thousands of years older than this Kaaba in Iran even, in Petra even, in Jordan. Now let's go and check the tribal history. Banu Hashim, Banu Makhdoom, Banu Umayyah. What about them? The most important figure, allegedly of Mecca, was Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl was the leader of Banu Makhdoom, because this is how it goes. At the top, there were Umayyads, then there were Banu Hashims, then there were Banu Makhdoom, in the order of dominance. The Umayyads, even Islamic history says that, during the Battle of Badr, Banu Hashim predominantly, who were followers of Prophet Muhammad, defeated Banu Makhdoom mainly in the Battle of Badr, where Abu Jahl was killed. But Abu Jahl is astonishingly not even mentioned in the Quran. And again, we are having now COVID. They were like Justinian plague or plague of Amwas during the 6th century, soon after the alleged death of Muhammad. So if that's the case, it is said that Muawiyah took control of Syria soon after Muhammad's time, during Umar's regime. So he took control of Syria. Well, they were like, during the time of plague of Amwas, and thousands of Umayyads, who were already settled in Medina, Mecca, they migrated in thousands to Syria in a plague-prone area where thousands of Sahabas, companions of Muhammad, allegedly died from this plague of Amwas. Can you imagine Muslims who, as we read in the Hadith, that they should live away from plague areas? They migrated in thousands to Syria. Doesn't make sense. So that means they were already there. Umayyads were already there. So Umayyads living in Damascus and Muhammad living in Mecca, they were having trouble. Doesn't make sense either. And Banu Hashim, who were mainly led by Muhammad, were defeated by more powerful Umayyads in the Battle of Uhud. Makes sense? So they were never, in fact, dominating, Mecca region. So how come? But Abu Jahl is not even mentioned. Makhdoom not even mentioned. It seems that Muhammad's arch rival were the Umayyads. Abu Lahab and all that. Why? Doesn't make sense. And other rituals also go against Quranic instructions and warnings. For example, Jam water. We don't find it in Quran. Why should a water give me blessings? It's not a medicine, not even mentioned in Quran. It's not a medicine that it works the same. There's not a single thing in the Quran to say that if you eat something, if you do certain, if you touch something, you'll be blessed. It's not there. It's not there. It goes against the Quran. It comes from kufr time, rituals of the non-believers, of the pagans, for example, the worship of Dat Badan and other water rituals, like the Ganges water ritual of the Hindus. These are reminiscence of those water rituals. So all the things surrounding Hajj, Makkah, you can't justify them by the Quran. So to bow towards a place which is full of paganistic rituals, which go against the Quran, Quranic core teachings, which in fact goes against the Tawheed of Islam, which have no basis in the Quran, Muslims have turned them into a center point for prayer 5 times a day. You are bowing your head, believing Allah lives there, because you say that, you claim that when you say Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. So if you die tomorrow, wake up on the other side, Allah asks you a simple question. Did I tell you to bow 5 times a day towards the Kaaba? What will be your answer? Yes or no? Surah 18, verse 1, Surah 12, verse 1, Allah talks straightforward. His Quran doesn't have any, it doesn't go in a clumsy way. It talks straightforward. And Allah even tells you to talk straight. Surah 33, verse 17. But you are going head over here to justify paganistic views, basing yourself on lies claimed in hadith. Even hadith, there is only one Khabar hadith to say that Kaaba should be the center for bowing. It's not there, my friends. It's not there. So if Allah asks you, did I command you, did I tell you to rely on Quran only as the primary source of deciding what is right and what is wrong? And if you say, Allah, sorry, I had to go head over heel basing to justify hadith and other Muslims' writings to bow 5 times a day. If Allah asks you, did I not warn you that stones and humans will be fuel in the fire of hell? Why did you bow? Why did you kiss the black stone? Oh Allah, I had a weak hadith, I know, and Umar didn't move it and all. Why did you symbolically even bow towards it? What if like somebody else replaced an idol instead of a stone, black stone? What are you going to say? And if Allah asks you, can you find a single verse? Did you find a single verse, unequivocal, a straightforward verse in the Quran where it says that Makkah and Makkah are the same? What are you going to say? Or Kaaba and Baitul Atiq are the same? What are you going to say? What will be your answer? You can't answer these questions. So I will opt for a better option. I will not take the risk. If there's a risk of shirk, if there's a risk of doing kufr, if there's a risk of going against the Quran, clearly, I will not rather do it. I will rather face Allah and say, sorry, God, you were not clear about it. So something unclear, I didn't follow it. Rather than taking the risk of being burnt in hellfire for telling something, lie about God. I'm not going to do that. Bukhari is not my prophet because I can't even prove that Bukhari wrote Sahih Bukhari because there's not a single copy of Bukhari before the 12th century. I'm not going to take that risk, my friend, no matter how you hate me, how much you hate me, how much you consider me as non-Muslim or kafir or murtad. I'm not going to take that risk, my friends. You're going to take that risk. I'm not going to take that risk. Sorry. I'll take some questions. Yeah, go ahead. Anybody has any question?
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of the Muslims in the world believe that Kaaba is the Qibla for the Muslims. But you were saying this is the false Qibla.
Yes.
So which is the true Qibla? What's your opinion? which is the true.
We don't need a Qibla. We don't need
If it is, or have another question. If there is no Qibla, it is essential for the Muslim for prayer?
No. If
No.
If I want to talk to God, if I want to remember God,
right,
why do I need to Qibla? If my father is dead, if I want to talk to my dad in my memory or in my mind, do I need to set a picture of my father in front of me in a certain direction? I don't.
No.
If I want to reflect on the writings or teachings of someone, do I have to place his picture or his idol in a certain place? No, I don't. So to worship God or to remember God, I don't need a Qibla at all. I don't. Christians, for example, they worship God. They worship, they through Jesus, which I don't agree, but still, when they say God, Father in heaven, they don't need Father in heaven to be in a certain place. You don't need to. When the Hindus say Sarvam Kalidan Brahma, do they need Brahma to be a certain place? No, they don't. What about Jews? When they pray, when they talk to God, Jehovah and all that, do they need Jehovah to be a certain pinpoint area? No, they don't. So no. Although Jews, they do consider Jerusalem to some extent prayer point, but still, they don't have a Qibla in the sense that Muslims claim today. It is rather insulting for Allah to confine him to a certain pinpoint. Imagine that if aliens come tomorrow, obviously God created aliens as well.
Right.
So if aliens come tomorrow, do you expect them to be saying that, you know what, we are here because we are always praying towards the Kaaba from Andromeda galaxy?
No.
Absurd. Doesn't make sense. Yeah,
Okay.
Lara, I can't hear.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Lara, yeah.
I have a question, sir. People say the recent Kaaba in Makkah is the center of Muslim people. What about Bethlehem and Christian people? Is the center of Muslim people? All Muslim believe it. It's the center of Kaaba is a Muslim center for praying.
No, it is absolutely hearsay, and there's no basis. If you go, the problem is Islamic history totally runs out of basis. If you go before the 9th century, you can't find it. You can't find any evidence. You can't find any writings. You can't find any archaeological, anthropological, or any scriptural basis for all these histories before the 9th century. As if Islam didn't even exist before the 9th century, and without the Quran, it didn't even exist. So that is the problem I see. So Muslims to have a Qibla is also absurd, baseless. There's a problem that whenever a researcher matches, which, say, for example, when a researcher like me, my claim matches the claims with some aspects of the claims of Orientalists or non-Muslims. So what? But they will say, they are a Christian conspiracy, Jewish conspiracy, you are one of the conspirators. Then I will say Hadith is the biggest conspiracy of all time, because Hadiths were concocted with the help of the Judeo-Christian concepts. There are many things, most of the things in the Hadiths, most of the rituals in Hadiths emanated from Judeo-Christian concept, Zoroastrian concepts, which go against the Quran. So if there was ever a conspiracy, Hadiths were the results of conspirations.
Okay. Then how they believe people? The Kaaba is not Qibla. How they believe it? They don't believe it. People never believe it. If I try by anyone say Qibla is Qibla, how they will want to believe? It's very tough. It's very difficult.
Never say never again, because even any idea started with a confident feeling. And truth will always find its way, always. Slowly but surely, the truth will find its way, and people will wake up. People will start asking themselves. For example, whatever I'm telling you now, you'll be asking yourselves later on, verify whatever I'm saying, and then find me if I'm wrong. Simple.
That's the problem. People doesn't like to verify. They think we are wrong.
Many
We are.
things, many things people, Muslims
We are.
nowadays do, which they can't find any basis in the most reliable source of Islam, which is Quran. They will not find any basis of it whatsoever. So they are, being hypocrites. And there are many Muslim scholars who will try to, for example, support me, but they're scared.
Yes. Yes.
Yasir Qadhi raised some questions, and
Yeah.
look how he was criticized, how they all hounded him. So that's the problem, because Muslim scholars were never free. They were never free to express their opinions. That's
But
why centuries after centuries, lies prevailed. Yes, Zabit, any questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I just want to know, sir, what do you think about the consequences that Muslim will face when they find out to be that Kaaba is false?
There's already a shockwave going around. It's already a shockwave. First of all, I don't read rituals to be a Muslim. I don't believe it, because I don't believe that God is going to punish me for not bowing in a certain manner, not touching my nose before my head. And it's absurd that God is going to punish me for that. God is going to punish me for not washing my hand 5 times a day while facing the Kaaba. Absurd. It doesn't make any sense at all, because it doesn't matter if you dip 20 times a day with water. If your heart is not clean, ritualistic cleaning doesn't serve any purpose. But even if you read Quran, Surah 5, verse 4 and onwards, you will see that water is used as a matter of, as a means of purifying the body from dirty, touching dirty or being dirty, from the state of being dirty. It is not a ritual water that is going to purify, in the sense of that, even if you're clean 100%, you still have to wash with 5 times a certain manner to purify you. This is paganistic view, nothing else. So to bow 5 times a day towards the Kaaba, and if you read Surah 5, verse 95, 97, that's a big problem as well, because it gives me understanding that Surah 5, verse 95, 96, 97 somehow talks about delivering the sacrifice to the Kaaba. I mean, how does it make sense? Why should I deliver it to the Kaaba unless there's an idol inside, like, sheep body of Hindus? They deliver it, they sacrifice it outside the temple, then they deliver it to inside. So I rather believe that it was a paganistic ritual which was allowed for non-Muslims to keep on doing, because
Sir, regarding the verse 95 to 97 in Surah Maida, do you think, precisely, do you think these verses are fabrications or interpolations? What would you like to say?
Even if you don't want to accept them as interpolation, rather you have to accept that this doesn't refer to Muslims, because it is absurd for a Muslim to offer animals to a god sitting anywhere near the Kaaba or inside the Kaaba, unless that god is an idol, as in Hindus do. Shiva temple. You watch how they sacrifice. They sacrifice outside the temple, then deliver it inside. Balaga, the word is used, balaga. So I am not ready to accept that it can be true for Muslims who do not believe in a figurative representation of God. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. It is rather absurd for me to believe that Muslims have to do that. Doesn't make sense. No. Right? So the Qibla, the Kaaba is absolutely absurd. It is rather insulting to God that you have to, and it is also, I think, an effort for the Arabs to have a grip on Muslims around the world, so that they can keep a noosh around their necks that, like, if you don't listen to me, I'm not going to allow you to come to Hajj. These are the sort of means of blackmailing Muslims around the world, that if you do not listen to what I say, being the king of Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to give you the visa to come to Hajj, or I'm going to kill you. I'm going to slit your throat when you come to Mecca. So I don't believe that Allah is going to bog us down to a certain region. Absurd. What about going to, say, to the skies, or going on a satellite? What's going to do then? You have to innovate. What about people when they're diving under the water? They are in a submarine. Imagine we didn't have the scientific innovations to find out which way Kaaba was. So are you going to tell me that all the animals are facing Kaaba for their prayers at a certain time? They don't do that. They have their own way of praying. So if they have their own way of praying, why do we have to be bogged down to a certain region of the world? Absurd. Absurd, funny, ridiculous, baseless, paganistic. Faisal, any question you have?
I am.
Yes, go ahead.
Why they don't want to open the truth? What's the wrong? What's the point of view? Why? We should know the truth. What is truth? We can't live in lie anymore.
Cultural imperialism. Cultural imperialism. Hadiths were written, especially in the 9th century, amazingly during the time of Bait al-Hikmah, where scholars were set to work to write various false things, false biographies of Prophet Muhammad, false stories, and all. Why? To create a religion based on Arabian culture. That's why you see nowadays there's a tendency in the name of following hadiths to Arabize the Muslims, to turn them into Arabs by culture. You have to give priority to dates instead of your mango. You have to somehow love Saudi Arabia more than your own country. You have to love daft instead of loving your own tanpura or your sitar. You have to love Arabian dress, Arabian headgear, Arabian hijab, Arabian everything instead of loving your own culture.
Arabian shows also.
Even Arabic language. There's nothing.
Arabic show also query.
Exactly. So these are all an effort to Arabize.
Arabize.
This is Arabic imperialism, to keep always Mecca the center point for Muslims. This is nothing but Arabic imperialistic approach, and to keep Arab always the center point, the command, the central command. And whoever controls the Kaaba, they're considered the leader of Muslims. And these drunkard, characterless kings and princes of Saudi Arabia, for example, King Fahad bin Abdul Aziz, he was a drunkard, an alcoholic man, a chain smoker. These are not my words. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
As described by US ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Not me. Don't kill the messenger. I'm telling you what the American ambassador said about King Fahad bin Abdul Aziz. He was a drunkard, but he was also the mutawalli of Kaaba and mutawalli of Medina Mosque. Imagine a drunkard, an alcoholic, a womanizer. All these kings and princesses, most of them are characterless womanizers. The MBS, the prince of Saudi Arabia, he had hundreds of his cronies and his prostitutes in Maldives recently.
Yes.
And he's soon going to be in charge of Kaaba and Medina. And we are bowing our head towards a Kaaba which is controlled by characterless kings.
Right.
Why do we have to take Kaaba to be our center point? Hell no. There's no reason. No
That's
basis.
the problem. That's the problem.
Exactly.
How people should know one day they will understand. I don't know, or
Well,
never.
Well, don't be so hopeless. There are
Yeah, I'm
concept.
trying.
There's a time when Galileo Galilei, whatever he said, nobody believed.
Mhm.
But eventually it flourished. People will flourish. People will understand because people will, one by one, you will talk to 10, Zabir
Yeah,
will talk to 20, Rana Babu will talk to 20, and
yeah.
ask the same question that I'm asking. How many are going to say, I'm going to kill you? How many? How many are going to tell you that I'm going to slap your face? If the 9 tells you I'm going to slap your face, 1 is going to say, okay, I'm going to listen. Your job done.
One more question.
Because truth is unstoppable. If you have
Yeah,
something to hide, you have something to lie.
There's something to lie.
lie. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is about Salman Rushdie. Why Iran or some Muslim country want to kill him? What did he do? Is he wrong when he write down his book Satanist verses? Is this a wrong thing he write down? It's wrong.
Right. You're talking about Surah Nazm and all that. I will talk about Salman Rushdie some other day. This is an important issue. We'll talk about it, definitely.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question, sir. Some of the Muslims says, Hadith, if you don't believe in Hadith, you are not a Muslim because Hadiths are the explanation of the Quranic ayats. What do you think?
I don't have to believe in Hadith. I can take Hadith as a, for example, historical explanation,
Right.
at the best.
Yeah.
And if those Hadiths pass in cross-examination, I will accept it. If they don't pass the cross-examination, I'm going to throw them out because Bukhari was not a prophet. So Allah is not going to punish me for not giving Bukhari so much value because there's nothing in the Quran for me to do that. Especially when I can't even establish that Sahih Bukhari was written by Bukhari when there's not a single copy of Bukhari before the 12th century. And I'm not going to accept hadith from, for example, Imran ibn Hussein, who had mental problems. I'm not going to accept hadith from Abbas, who was a child during Prophet's lifetime. I'm not going to accept, hadith from Abu Huraira. I don't even know his actual name. There are 15 variant names of him.
Yes.
So I'm not going to accept hadith from Aisha because Allah condemned Aisha in various ways in the Quran. He at least rebuked Aisha. There's not a single verse in the Quran where it clears that Aisha was a pious woman. Probably she was a chaste woman for Prophet as a wife, but she was not, like, let's put it this way, Allah doesn't have good words much about her. She gave troubles to our Prophet, at least. She was the main cause for Battle of Jamal, where thousands of Muslims died. And I'm not gonna accept hadith from, at least I'm not gonna accept hadith from her. There are various examples of her harming Muslim community. So I'm not gonna opt hadith from her. No. I'm not bound to. If there were hadith from Khadija, if there were hadith from, and those could be corroborated, and those could be, for example, verified, then I will give you more value to that.
So do you believe in?
Yes.
Do you believe in tafsir? Quranic tafsir?
You don't believe in things. You examine.
There are some metaphoric ayats in Quran. How can you understand this if you don't believe in tafsir?
Metaphoric ayat. There are some metaphors. Yes, some metaphors.
Yes, some metaphoric ayats.
So to claim metaphorism in everything that you can't explain, this is garbage.
Yep.
But I'm not going to say that Allah may kept some of this, like in Surah Imran, Allah kept some of the verses, for those to think These are not clear for idiots, but those are clears for thinkers. Allah doesn't leave anything unclear in the Quran for us to even ponder until we die. These are unclear for the ordinary, but these are not unclear for those who can think. So,
Okay,
so Allah didn't intentionally put Bakka and Makkah to make us confused. This is clear.
Right.
But
We are confused people.
We are in office, right?
okay, Faisal, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ji, sir, my question is that Hajj, I mean, pilgrim, has been being performed. I mean, Muslims have been performing or celebrating Hajj from the time of Muhammad continuously every day. So does it not prove that Kaaba has been located from that time there, I mean, in Saudi Arabia,
Prove
in
it.
Makkah?
Prove it.
Because every year Muslim perform Hajj or celebrate Hajj from that time. I
We
mean,
were
that
performing,
period.
we were lighting candle during Shab Barat during our childhood. We don't know when it started. Does it mean they're true?
No, but
Hindus have been performing Durga Puja. Does it mean that Durga was a goddess?
no.
So something being performed from time immemorial doesn't mean that they started at a certain time. So you need to prove it to me that Muslims were doing Hajj along with Prophet Muhammad from a source which can't be questioned, because evidence is so clear from the time of Prophet Muhammad. Show it to me. 6, 7, 8, 9, show it to me. You can't show it. You can't prove it. Even during Ibn Battuta's visit to Makkah, if you read Ibn Battuta's travelogue, you will see there were paintings of human figures inside the Kaaba during his visit. Imagine that. Ibn Battuta, who met Shah Jalal in Bengal. So imagine today having a painting of a human figure inside the Kaaba today. It's not there. So for you to claim that people have been performing Hajj at Kaaba from 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th century, my challenge is simple. Prove it to me. You will see that most of the Muslims will tell you Mufassir is Munafiq, Mufassir is Kafir, Mufassir is a liar. Fine, prove it. I'm a liar.
Well,
Prove it. I'm not hiding. Whatever I'm believing or whatever I'm trying, I'm giving it to you straight away. And I'm giving my evidence. If you see, even now at this very moment, I'm giving you evidences, and I'm giving them link to come and join me. Even now, I pin messaged it, but they will never have the guts to challenge me intellectually. Why? Is Islam intellectually weak? Is Quran intellectually weak? Is Hadith intellectually weak? Are the Muslim scholars intellectually weak? Are the Muslims intellectually weak? Like I said, this is Satan worship. Whatever I'm doing is why I'm worshiping God, and they are worshiping Satan. Because only liars worship Satan. Am I wrong in saying that? Liars, hypocrites, abusers, and those who insult baselessly, they are worshiping Satan. If you have a basis of your claim, if you're honest, you should be brave like me. Yeah, I'm brave like a lion. You're looking at a lion. I'm a lion. I'm a Bengal tiger. Look at me.
right.
I'm an intellectual Bengal tiger. I'm sitting here giving my link on my live link. Yes, I'm giving it. Look, I'm a Bengal tiger sitting here, standing my ground, giving my link. And the cowards, they will abuse, they will insult, they will say whatever, but they will never be able to intellectually face me. Why is that? So who is worshiping Satan? Allah says that tell the truth. Do not mix the truth with the untruth. right?
Right.
So I'm the one who is standing my ground, sitting in my chair, opening up to the world, giving my link and telling them, come. I mean, what a coward, intellectual cowards. Mufassir Islam sitting here like a tiger. You see this Bengal tiger? Why I have this? It's a beautiful Bengal tiger. Because I am a Bengal tiger. Intellectual Bengal tiger the world has never seen before. I beat my own drum. You know why I beat my own drum? Because I'm not going to allow you, I'm not going to wait for you to beat my drum. Can you imagine somebody beating a drum and inviting someone else, come and beat my drum? I can't beat my drum. I'm here beating my drum. I'm an intellectual Bengal tiger. Come and prove me wrong. Why can't they? There's not a single man intellectual enough to come and debate with me.
Exactly.
Some youths, some over enthusiastic changras in Bengali, they call, they will say, I'm going to fight with Muhammad, because they are going to use my prominence to heighten their own status. I'm not going to do that. I want somebody like a real deal, like Abbasi, Karana Ibrahim, come.
Mamnul Haq.
Sadiqin, come, make my day. Cowards, make my day. Tell me that I'm saying wrong things. Who is Abbasi? I declare 2 million takas for him. I will declare 2 million takas again now if he can prove me wrong, what I'm saying here today wrong. Come and prove me wrong.
Right.
Where is Tahiri?
They don't have that courage.
Not with him.
They have already flew away.
I even offered him money. He doesn't come. Corona Ibrahim, I offered him money. Come and talk. Prove me wrong. I will see Tawbah and I'll become your disciple. Come. Why don't you come? Because this Satan worshipper, all these wazins, they're all Satan worshippers. They worship the Satan. Their means is satanic. Their means is satanic. They will use lies, deceptions, threats, abuses, but they will never come to intellectual debate. Why? Because they have things to hide. If you have things to hide, you have things to lie. What is your problem? Is Islam intellectually weak? Islam is not intellectually weak. I am basing myself on Quran. Come and prove me wrong. You can't come because you know why? Because this can beat Bukhari anytime. This can beat Bukhari anytime.
And they have no knowledge.
This can beat your Corona Ibrahim anytime. This can beat your Tahiri anytime. This can beat your Abbasi anytime. Come. Those who think that I am Satan, I'm telling you, you're Satan worshippers. Oh, no, be honest. If somebody like me sitting here giving links to the Zoom conference, and I'm saying in English so that Muslims all over the world can hear, I'm here every Saturday with a challenge, come. Prove me wrong. I'm not like other scholars who who are not accessible. I am accessible.
Sir, you can invite Yasir Kadri or Noman Ali here to discuss with you.
I'm going to open up my my new channel in November, like a David Letterman show. Then I will invite all of them.
Well,
Trust me,
good.
but they're not like Mufassir Islam. They're none of them. They're not going to jeopardize their business, their reputation. They're not going to face the death threats like I did because they're intellectually covered.
right.
I'm not a
That's true.
coward.
No, they are kitabi. They are kitabi. That's why they don't want to talk about anything.
I will die. I will die, but I will have the pride that I was not a coward. I'm not gonna live like a turtle 300 years. I'm gonna see for like 2 square miles all my life. I'm gonna be a cheetah. I'm gonna run for 90 miles an hour. I'm gonna see 900 miles, 900 square miles. I'm gonna be a Bengal tiger. I'm gonna fetch the crocodile out of water. I'm the Bengal tiger of intellectuality who is going to fetch crocodiles like Abbasi out of their disgusting water of lies. I'm that Bengal tiger that the world has never seen. I'm the Muhammad Ali of intellectual Muslim world. I'm going to punch you all out. I'm going to knock you all out. I'm going to knock your teeth out of lies, your lying teeth out. Because you can't prove me wrong, my dear friends. You can't prove me wrong. How insulting is it? Don't you feel, Zabir, Rana, Lara, Farsul, don't you think they're inside, they're feeling insulted that they don't have an answer?
Right.
They don't have an argument. They don't have a logic. They don't have a rationale to fight me back intellectually.
Right.
You know, they don't have the intellectuality to face up to me. How weak.
They're totally coward.
How weak are they? How weak. They worship Bukhari. They're insulting our prophet left and right. You know, Bukhari wrote things. If any non-Muslim ever wrote these things, they would have killed him a long time ago. So I'm telling you now, the Kaaba, the Qibla is a lie. Free yourself from this rubbish. And if you think I'm lying, come, prove me wrong. Any last words or end of today? Done?
Done.
Done, no, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
What an intellectual challenge, yeah? Take care.